There are moments in life that split everything into a before and an after. Not the dramatic ones you see coming, not the slow arguments that build for years, or the fights that end with doors slamming and tires screeching out of driveways. The ones that actually change you are the quiet ones. The ones that happen in rooms full of people who are supposed to love you while someone is cutting the birthday cake, or adjusting their graduation robe, or toasting to your future with a glass of sparkling cider. This story takes place in a suburb of Columbus, Ohio, on a Saturday afternoon in late May, in a backyard that smelled like grilled chicken and fresh-cut grass and someone's too sweet perfume. A young woman had just accomplished something she had worked 4 years to earn, and before the afternoon was over, her older sister would stand in front of everyone she loved and call her a thief. What happened 4 days later did not involve screaming. It did not involve a dramatic confrontation. It involved a single text message sent from a parking lot at 11:17 on a Tuesday night. And what happened in the 48 hours after that text was sent changed everything. My name is Claire Hendricks. I am 29 years old. I work as a registered nurse at a mid-sized regional hospital in Columbus, Ohio, specifically in the cardiac step-down unit, which means I spend 12-hour shifts monitoring patients who have just survived something their bodies barely made it through. I read rhythms. I watch for the moment a number changes just slightly enough to mean something is wrong before anyone else in the room knows it. I have been doing that job for 3 weeks as of the day this story starts, because that Saturday in May was my nursing school graduation party, and I had passed my NCLEX boards 8 days before that. 4 years of community college prerequisites, 2 years of an accelerated BSN program, approximately $9,000 in personal debt that I paid without asking anyone in my family for a single cent, and 168 hours of clinical rotations that I completed while working 25 hours a week as a medical records clerk at an urgent care clinic. I did all of it alone. I want you to understand that before anything else. I want you to understand the shape of what I had built, because you need to know what it felt like to be standing in the middle of it, surrounded by people I loved. Wearing a dress I had bought on clearance 3 weeks earlier, when my sister walked out of the house holding her purse with both hands and looked directly at me in front of everyone and said, "Where is my money, Claire?" Before I tell you what happened next, tell me, what time is it for you right now, and where are you watching from? I am genuinely curious to see how far this story travels. Her name is Dana. She is 34 years old. She has always been the one in our family who made a room feel like it had a thermostat. She controlled the temperature of every gathering, and everyone learned early to read her mood before they read anything else. She is 5 years older than me, and she has always moved through the world like someone who expects it to rearrange itself for her convenience. She married a man named Trevor when she was 27. Trevor is the kind of man who agrees with whoever spoke last in any given conversation. He is not cruel, he is not kind, he is just present, which I think is all Dana ever really needed from a husband, a body that nodded in the right direction. They have a nice house in Westerville. They go on vacation twice a year. They have a dog named Biscuit that Dana posts about more than she posts about her own children. From the outside, Dana's life looks like it is going exactly as planned. I know now that it was not. The party was my mother's idea. My mom, Sandra, is 61 and works part-time at a dental office in Dublin. She is a woman who expresses love through logistics. She planned the party, ordered the cake, made the potato salad from scratch, and strung up a banner that said "Congratulations, Nurse Claire," in blue and gold letters. There were maybe 30 people there, cousins, my mom's coworkers, my best friend Jenna from my cohort, my boyfriend Marcus, who had driven 2 hours from Cincinnati and stood near the cooler, most of the afternoon looking handsome and slightly overwhelmed. My Aunt Patrice, who brought a fruit tray and a card with $20 in it and cried when she hugged me, which made me cry, which I had promised myself I would not do. It was a good afternoon. It was genuinely, completely, unreservedly a good afternoon for approximately 3 hours. Dana arrived late. She arrived 40 minutes after the party started, which was not unusual for her. She was wearing a white linen blouse and oversized sunglasses that she didn't take off for the first 20 minutes. She hugged my mother. She hugged me briefly, said congrats, and then moved toward the food table. Trevor stood near the fence and talked to my uncle about something that involved a lot of nodding. I noticed Dana checking her phone twice in the first 10 minutes she was there, which also was not unusual. I noticed she did not come find me to actually talk to me, which also was not unusual. I had learned a long time ago not to expect warmth from Dana at events that were not about Dana. I was just glad she had come. Then, at approximately 4:15 in the afternoon, Dana walked out of the back door of my mother's house holding her purse with both hands and walked directly toward the center of the backyard where I was standing with Jenna and Marcus and two of my cousins. She walked with purpose. She walked the way she always walks when she has already decided what is going to happen next. And she stopped about 4 feet away from me, looked me directly in the eyes and said, "Where is my money, Claire?" The yard did not go silent all at once. It went silent in waves, the way sound drains out of a space when people sense something is about to happen. I heard the music from the Bluetooth speaker near the fence. I heard someone set down a plate. I heard my Aunt Patrice say, "What?" very softly from somewhere to my left. I said, "What are you talking about?" Dana said, "I had $1,800 in cash in my purse. I put my purse in Mom's bedroom when I got here because there are kids running around. I just went to get it and the envelope is gone." She said this loudly. She said this at a volume that was not a question, it was an announcement. "You were in that room earlier, I saw you go in there." I had been in the room. I had gone to put my phone on the charger on my mother's nightstand, which I had done approximately 400 times in my life. I was in that room for maybe 90 seconds. I said, "Dana, I didn't touch your money." She said, "There's nobody else who would have. Everyone else here, I actually trust." And there it was. Said cleanly, clearly, in front of my mother and my boyfriend, and my best friend, and my cousins, and my Aunt Patrice, and every coworker my mother had invited. Everyone else here I actually trust, not an implication, not a suggestion. A verdict, delivered in a backyard in Columbus, Ohio, on the day I graduated from nursing school. I watched my mother's face. I watched her look at Dana and then look at me and then look at the ground, which told me everything I needed to know about whether she was going to step in. Marcus put his hand on my arm and I felt the warmth of it. But I also felt how still he had gone. The way people go still when they are trying to figure out if they are watching something they should stop or something they should stay out of. Jenna said, "Dana, that's not fair." And Dana turned and looked at her with an expression that made Jenna take a half step back. Dana said, "I'm not trying to ruin anything, I'm just trying to find my money." She looked back at me. "If you borrowed it, just tell me. I won't be angry. You could have just asked." And that was the second part. That was the part that was designed to sound reasonable while still being a conviction, if you borrowed it. As if the only question was which version of my guilt we were going to settle on, I stood very still. I have worked in healthcare long enough to know that the most important thing you can do when the situation is genuinely unfair is to not give anyone a reason to make it worse. So I said, calmly, looking directly at my sister, "I did not take your money, Dana. I don't know where it is. I'm sorry you can't find it." And then I turned and walked back toward the house. The party did not recover. People filtered out within the next 45 minutes. My mother found me in the kitchen washing cups and told me she was sure it was a misunderstanding. My Aunt Patrice hugged me and whispered, "She's always been like this, sweetheart," which was meant to comfort me and did not. Marcus stayed until 8 o'clock and sat with me on the back steps after everyone left, and I did not cry. I was too tired to cry. I was too familiar with this particular kind of tired. This wasn't the first time Dana had done something like this. Not exactly like this, but variations of it. Taking up the oxygen in a room that was supposed to be mine, repositioning herself at the center of something she had no part in building. When I got my first apartment, she spent 20 minutes at dinner talking about how her house had better appliances. When I got the job at the urgent care clinic, she asked if I had thought about something with benefits. This was not carelessness. Looking back at the whole length of it, the entire uninterrupted pattern of it, this was coordinated. This was a woman who had spent 34 years being the most important person in every room and who had developed without even fully realizing it a precise and practiced instinct for cutting anyone down who threatened to take up too much space. I drove home at 9 o'clock. I sat in my car in my apartment parking lot for a while, and then I remembered something. Something I had not thought about in almost 3 months. About 90 days before the party, I had driven Dana and Trevor to the airport for a vacation. Trevor had asked me to hold on to a spare key to their house while they were gone in case of an emergency. I had kept the key on a hook by my door. I had also, and this is the part that mattered, used that week to drop off a birthday gift for their dog's groomer, who was a friend of mine from college and had done so through their garage. While I was there, I had noticed something on the kitchen counter. A stack of bank envelopes, 3 of them, the kind that come when you've opened a new account or made a significant withdrawal or request. I hadn't thought anything of it at the time. I had set down the bag of dog food I had also picked up for them, locked the door, and left. But I had also taken a photo of the counter, not because I suspected anything, but because Jenna had texted me asking what Trevor and Dana's kitchen looked like, because Jenna was redoing her own kitchen, and I had mentioned once that their counters were a specific shade of gray quartz she might like. I had sent Jenna 3 photos of the counter. Those photos were still on my phone. I opened my Photos app. I zoomed in on the stack of bank envelopes. The top one was from a bank that was not the bank Dana and Trevor used for their joint account. I knew their bank because I had transferred money to them once when they were short on a vacation payment. This was a different institution entirely, a different name, and on the outside of the envelope, in pen, someone had written a number. The number was 1800, and beneath it 2 initials. Not Dana's initials, Trevor's. I sat in that parking lot for a long time. I thought about what I was looking at. I thought about what it meant. I thought about the way Trevor had stood near the fence all afternoon, barely talking to Dana. I thought about the way Dana had come out of that bedroom holding her purse with both hands. I thought about the fact that she had gone in there alone and come back out with a verdict already formed. Which meant she already knew the money was gone before she walked back outside. The only question was what she was going to do about it. And I understood. Trevor had taken the money, not me, not any of my cousins, not anyone at that party. Trevor had taken $1,800 from Dana's private cash envelope and opened a second account somewhere she didn't know about, and she either knew it and couldn't face it, or she suspected it and needed to make it someone else's problem. Either way, she had chosen me. In front of every person I loved, on the day I had worked 6 years to reach, I did not call her. I did not text her that night. I went upstairs, ate a bowl of cereal, and went to sleep. Over the next 3 days, I did 4 things. The first thing I did was call Jenna and ask her to send me the photos I had texted her from Trevor and Dana's kitchen, since her copies would have their own timestamp metadata independent of mine. She sent them within 10 minutes and asked no questions, which is why she has been my best friend since sophomore year. The second thing I did was write a clear, factual, time-stamped account of everything that had happened at the party, what was said, who was present, what time it was, and emailed it to myself. Not for any specific legal purpose, just to have it. The third thing I did was nothing. I did not respond to my mother's 3 texts. I did not respond to my Aunt Patrice's voicemail. I did not respond to Dana, who had sent me a message on Tuesday that said, "I hope you understand, I had to say something." I read it, set my phone face down on the counter, and went to make coffee. The fourth thing I did was send a text to Trevor. It was 11:17 on a Tuesday night. I was sitting in my car in the parking lot of my hospital after a 12-hour shift. I was still in scrubs. I had not rehearsed what I was going to say. I simply opened the photos Jenna had sent me. Screenshotted the clearest one. The one where you could see the bank envelope and the handwritten 1800 and Trevor's initials in the corner, and sent it to Trevor's cell number with a single line of text beneath it. The text said, "I think this belongs to the conversation Dana started at my graduation party. You two should probably talk." I sent it. I plugged in my phone. I drove home. Trevor showed Dana the text at approximately 6:15 the following morning, according to the timeline I was able to piece together later. I know this because at 6:22 I received the first of what would become, over the next 31 hours, 47 text messages from Dana. The first one said, "What is this?" The second one said, "Where did you get this?" By the eighth one, the tone had shifted completely. By the 12th one, she was calling. I did not answer. I counted the calls later. There were 19 calls from Dana and 6 from a number I didn't recognize that turned out to be Trevor's work cell. There were also 4 texts from my mother, 1 from my Aunt Patrice, and 2 from a cousin named Brittany, who I have never been particularly close to, but who apparently felt the situation warranted her input. I responded to none of them for 31 hours. I worked my shift. I came home. I ate dinner. I slept. On Thursday morning, I sent Dana one message. It said, "I didn't take your money. I never took anything from you. I hope you find what you're looking for." I did not explain the photo. I did not offer context. I did not tell her what I knew or what I suspected or what I had put together in a parking lot at 11 o'clock at night while still wearing hospital scrubs. I just said what was true and closed the conversation. What happened next came to me in pieces, through my mother and through Jenna, and through the particular way that family gossip travels. Imprecise and breathless, and always about 30% more dramatic than reality. Trevor, when confronted by Dana about the photo, had not denied the account. He had confirmed it. He had been moving money, not $1,800 it turned out, but considerably more, into a private account he had opened 6 months earlier. The conversation that followed in their Westerville kitchen on that Wednesday morning was apparently not brief and was apparently not quiet. By Thursday afternoon, Trevor had moved into his brother's apartment with 2 bags and a box of kitchen items. By Friday, Dana had contacted a family attorney. I did not feel victorious. I want to be clear about that. There was nothing in me that felt like winning. What I felt was something quieter and stranger, a sense of space. Like a room after furniture has been moved, and you can finally see how large it actually is. I had spent years making myself smaller in rooms Dana occupied. I had learned to celebrate quietly, to succeed without making too much of it, to absorb the temperature she set and adjust accordingly. What I understood, sitting in my apartment on that Friday evening with my phone finally silent and a cup of tea going cold on the coffee table, was that her cruelty had always had a source I couldn't see. That the way she cut at me had never really been about me at all. That I had been a convenient surface for a woman who had been quietly afraid for a very long time. That did not make what she did acceptable. I want to be clear about that too. You do not get to drag someone's character through the mud in front of 30 people because your own life is quietly coming apart at the seams. You do not get to name someone a thief because you cannot face the real thief standing next to you. You do not get to spend years making a person feel like they take up too much space and then reach for them when you need the empty space filled. About 2 weeks later, my mother called and gently suggested that I reach out to Dana, who was going through something. I sat with the phone in my hand for a moment, and then I said something I had not planned to say. I said, "Mom, you watched her call me a thief at my own graduation party, in front of everyone, and you didn't say a word. I need you to understand that the thing I need right now is for the people who love me to say that wasn't okay." There was a long pause. My mother said, "You're right. It wasn't okay." It was the first time she had said it plainly. It was not everything I needed, but it was something. I wrote something in my journal that night that I want to share with you because I think it belongs at the end of this story. I wrote, "I used to confuse endurance with loyalty. I thought that staying quiet, staying small, staying in rooms where I was not being treated well was the same thing as loving people. I thought that absorbing the ways they needed to diminish me was a form of generosity. It was not. It was just fear with better manners. They had trained me, over a long time and through 100 small moments, to stay small, to celebrate in half measures, to apologize for my own accomplishments in rooms where those accomplishments made someone else feel insufficient. I am done with that. Not loudly, not dramatically, just done. Love that requires your silence is not love. It is a management strategy, and I am no longer available to be managed. Dana and Trevor are in the process of divorce as far as I know. I have not spoken to her directly since that Thursday message. I have left the door open, not wide, just slightly, the way you leave a window cracked in a room that needs air. I am not interested in punishment. I am interested in my own life, which is, as it turns out, large enough to occupy without anyone's permission. I am a nurse. I read rhythms for a living. I notice the moment a number changes just enough to mean something. I noticed it in a backyard in Columbus, Ohio, in late May, while someone was calling me a thief. And I waited until I had the information I needed, and then I acted. Quietly, precisely, without drama or cruelty or raised voices, the way I was trained to act when something important is happening and the room is already too loud. So here is what I want to ask you. If you were sitting at that table, would you have stayed or walked out? Comment one word. Walked it if you would cut contact. Stayed if you believe family always deserves one more chance.